right, well, this is not computers. I spend a lot of time on it, but I'm not good at it. So I'd much rather be walking with you all out there, and we could just pick up a leaf or a stick, and I'd have lots to say about it, but to try and plan it all out ahead is not really my forte. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll take it from here. So I know this is what we all want, right? This is a beautiful garden, the overflowing, and hopefully we'll start to get there. This is an example of what not to do. I was called in, and somebody had done that, what they call xeriscaping, where they put down a weed barrier and then pea gravel and covered the whole yard. And I'm sure it looked great for a day. It had this nice rock in it, and then life happens and things grow, and some weed got in there, and so I called the Bobcat, and it took 2.5 dump truck loads to haul it all off, and then we started having some fun. So this is what it looked like. Oh no, I just did it. There it is. It says a year later. So again, this is what it looked like, and there's work. So the idea is, you know, it's really easy to do stupid things, dumb things, and the goal is not to do that. And I just did it again. Here we go. All right. So this is another one. This is actually a recent one. And this is a really special one. There's some friends of mine from Master Naturalist, and they went into a development up in Georgetown, and the developer insisted on Bermuda grass, which is just like, and so it's like, all right, well, we can deal with that. So this edging in here is 8 inches tall. And that keeps the Bermuda grass from going under it. We'll see, hopefully. Yeah, so that, whoops, I went too fast. All right, so there's a year later on it. And yeah, there's a fun thing that I did with this is originally this yard didn't have anything in it. And so the edging went back to the fence because we want to be able to maintain it. And then when they put their yard in, came back and connected it up. And so the idea is you kind of combine your yard with your neighbor's yard and keep the Bermuda at bay. All right, so this is another one. This is up on Mesa. We're going to look at this one a little bit more in depth. There's some issues. I don't know if you can see it, but there's this rock wall here. We'll look at it a little closer. There's somebody put tar on the front of the house because they kept getting water into it. In fact, when it rained, water would come down the driveway, down the front walk, and into the front door. Bedroom also got water in it, and the garage also got water in it. So had to do something about that. Yeah, just a whole lot of problems. So this is an up close. It had a beautiful pool put in the backyard, but somebody decided that they're going to put a different kind of rock on the front. And I saw those and it just turned my stomach. I'm sure most people would just kind of go by and like, whatever. And normally you would never do anything, you know, at this point it's a huge investment they've already made in that, but luckily I got to fix that. Here you can see the up close. This rock wall is above the foundation. And so you may know this, may not know this. If you have a house that has brick or rock on it, you'll find these little weep holes. Never cover those up with dirt. If you cover those up with dirt, the termites will go in and they'll eat your house. All right? If you have a building inspector, like when you sell your house, they come out and they look at the house and they want to see 3 to 6 inches of your foundation below the brick ledge. So this is a problem. And when this flower bed, when the gutters overflow, this flower bed fills up with water and floods the house. So that's how the water got in and it couldn't get out. So this is the front walk. And the water comes down here. It's supposed to go out the side there. You can kind of see the dark spot there, but it's blocked by a flower bed. So somebody came along after the fact and they put this nice little flower bed in and ruined the drainage. It's supposed to come across the front and then across the driveway. And then around the corner, I couldn't figure out why the garage was flooding. And so I got my little bucket of water out and I started putting water down and saying, like, where's it going? It turned out that there was dirt piled up here, which was keeping the water on the driveway. Instead of flowing off the driveway, it was going onto the driveway, and then it couldn't get around the corner fast enough. It says, all right, we got another problem. Here's the backyard. This beautiful swimming pool. And then look at the finish on this. You can see, you know, it's like wearing a beautiful evening gown. You say your slip is showing. Right there, the slip is showing. The whole thing, you know, you can just see the fence. It's just, here is a drainage pipe. The inlet is right here, and it's supposed to collect the water and take it under this little bridge. And this little bridge goes to the pool. It's like this little, I don't know. And then here's the wonderful backyard. So, yeah. And anybody, if you look closely, this is a guest room, so you know what happened to that one. All right, more issues. So this is along the side of the house here, and just lovely. Pool guy walks down there, and AC guys. This is the other side. It's just this mishmash of materials. Yeah, so it's like, all right, got some problems. And then I see a gas meter back there, and so it's like, all right, before I do anything, I'm going to call 811. And I'm going to say, come mark my utilities. And so that's what they do. And when you see those flags, you know, stay away. All right, so that's it. This is what we're planning to do, something beautiful, little fungus, whatever. All right, how do you go there? So the first thing I do is I pull up Google Earth, and it doesn't show up well here, but down the corner, if you hit on Google Earth, you can zoom in and you get your property. You can do measured distance, and you can actually measure around the outside of your property. And that gets you the start, and then you go out with your tape measure and you start measuring the heck out of everything. And you got to find out where, you know, the property lines are, where the trees are, where everything is, and then you sit down in the office and you start drawing. And so this is what we drew, or I drew. I'm my own employee. So this is the front, and basically I said, all right, the water comes down here. I need to get it away from the front walk. So I'm going to cut the walkway and lower it down. I'm going to put some retaining walls in so the water can go that way. I'm also going to allow the water to go this way and create some grass areas, some plantings. Backyard, we do a nice grass area so you can have the beautiful grass go into the pool. More grass here. Lots of areas for planting. Lots of areas for planting. And this is how I designed the water. All right. And so there we go, 811, they marked it. I started digging and I said, okay, gas company, I've uncovered your pipe and I now need you to come back out and lower it. And they actually did that. The contractor for them came out and promptly crushed the water pipe. But luckily, I had done everything I needed to do, so that was their dime. Didn't cost me any extra money. All right, and then the rain happens, and there's nothing like a good rainstorm, not a little bit more than we had today, to actually test your theories. I was in the middle of constructing, and it just rained like, you know, one of those like we get here, and you have to be ready for that. That's the whole point of what I was doing, is trying to deal with that. Here I've already graded this, and you can see the water is moving this way. It's puddling. I like that. Here's the front. The water is, there's very little that's actually getting here. You can see where I've done my cut, so it's going to go each side. This is by the garage, and if the water can't get out of here, that's where it backs up in the garage. So, there we are. All right, so here in this front bedroom that was flooding, and that flower bed that was here, and that tar that was across here, and all that's gone. All right, I've created this retaining wall with lots of room here, this nice little gravel. Now the building inspector comes out, and he can see 6 to 8 inches of foundation beneath that rock ledge. And this gives you an idea of how much digging we did in that corner. I did in that corner. About 28 inches down. And so that's what it looked like. And this is what it looks like. There is this retaining wall here. From the street, you really can't even see it. But it looks nice.
Yeah.
Well, what's some of your plant choices there, John?
Yeah.
Crepe myrtles. Here's the crepe myrtles. Plant choices. Deer. Like the deer, this is up on Mesa, and the deer just walk through the yards eating everything. So there's cages on these guys. This is all, well, this is Copper Canyon daisy and blue salvia. The beauty of non-native crepe myrtles is I can buy one that's that big for about $250, and I cannot buy a native tree that big. And so you get instant shade. And this is just blasting on. You would ask it. Yeah?
Also, my observation is that crepe myrtles are not very invasive.
They, every once in a while, they'll seed out. It's very rare.
Very rare.
Yeah. No, they're not native, but they work. I hate to say it like that, but we're going to call it native and adapted, as the city does. But there's the rain.
They can still do anything for the insects.
They don't. There are no pollinators on it. I mean, you can get up close and personal.
No pollinators, what?
What was that?
Grasshoppers.
Oh, yeah, well, those, the things that love them, if you ever go under crepe myrtle and you're getting rained on, that's not rain. That's,
No, it is not.
that's a little leaf hopper that's up there sucking and spewing.
Could have been on
Did they have a sprinkler system before that you had to adjust to the new?
Oh, yeah, we just,
Tore everything out?
yeah,
and started
they call it abandoned in place.
Okay. And did you do soaker, or is it still a sprinkler, like a sprinkler?
So the grass is on sprinkler, and all the flower beds are on soakers. Yeah.
But the crepe myrtles, you say they're invasive, not extremely. And we inherited some really enormous crepe myrtles when we moved here 20 years ago. And we actually salvaged a couple of the seedlings. We have 2 volunteers that we moved, and they're half the size of the original ones. So, oopsie, so they were.
They're a tree, what we're facing right now is, we're gonna have to rethink, and I want to talk about that in a bit. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. But crepe myrtles work. Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Gary. So this is actually one of the fun things I did is, I got my saw out and I cut this walkway.
Privilege.
And got a pry bar out and a couple pipes and some and put the pipes under there and a couple 2x4s and just rolled them out of the way. And then got under there and took out a bunch of dirt, threw some sand in, and then slid them all back in. And now it's got a crease in it that the water can flow across. And onto this side and out and around by the driveway. So this is what it looked like. And that's what it looks like. All this was the soil that came out. And I always had this problem, so what am I going to do with the wayward soil? And luckily when they did the pool, they kind of, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to make the pool down, and then they ran into rock. And so they actually built the pool above the landscaping, and then there was just empty spots waiting for me to come deposit my dirt.
I'm sorry, would you mind explaining it again one more time? That was very interesting. Go back one, how you lifted it up.
Oh,
That,
all right, so you know the pyramids? That's what I did.
okay.
All right, so I took some 2x4s and I set them on the ground, and I used a pry bar, and this is all by myself, and I pried them up, slid 2x4s under,
Okay.
and then pried it up again and slid some pipes underneath there. And then the 2x4s like railroad tracks, and then the pipes going perpendicular to them, and then it just rolled right up. And I got to a certain point, I had to stick the pry bar in the ground and run around and get another roller and roll it, and yeah. Yeah, you can move amazing things with that method. I mean, I just kind of, yeah. I moved a shed that way a couple times. All right.
Did you reuse, there was an original.
Go back twice.
Yeah, I moved back. I'm getting there.
Did you use the rocks that were there for your new?
Yes, I collected all the rocks and I reused them. There were so many rocks. And again, this is just an aesthetic thing. I'm going to say this. This is one of those weird things. Like everybody just kind of thinks a rock is a rock. But to my eye, if you've got limestone, use limestone. All right? And if you're going to change materials, you change materials like you do in a house. You have a threshold, and on one side you have carpet, on the other side you have tile. And if you have you've been in those apartments that are the cheap ones where they have right at the front door, they got the tile, and then it's like a little tiny thing of tile. It's like cheap, it just feels wrong, it's the wrong place. The right place is at the transition, at the threshold, you change materials. All right, so yeah, I collected all these rocks, they all reused, here in the back,
You're skipping one. Go back.
no, I still gonna need to go backwards.
Yeah, you did.
All right, here we are. This is the garage. This is the driveway. So now everything go off. This is about an inch lower on the driveway side, about 2 inches lower on that side. So all the water that's trying to move across the driveway to this point can get off the driveway, and then it can go down and around the corner. This is a gutter that I had the picture of where the water was just gushing out of. So there's lots of room for the water coming across the front of the side of the house, come over here. Also, that really reinforced to me how important it was to have the outlet to the other side of the house. Instead of trying to put all the water down through this gate, by taking and dividing it, putting half on each side, it really saved, is that belts and suspenders? So that, you don't have to worry about, everything is all in one, going through one gate. Something happens, you get a couple sticks there, a couple of leaves, and suddenly the whole house is flooded. You just can't have that. All right. Whoops, now we're going the wrong way again. Here we go. All right, so here's the pool. This is the before. It was even breaking, and so just all that's out of there. And made it nice, big, and generous. It was like this wide. So nice, big, generous. And then I mentioned it, healing. This family had had some pretty significant trauma in it. And, get emotional. For me, where I get the joy in what I do, anybody can kind of put water here, or put water there, or put a plant in the ground, but is to try and do something that's going to be touching the folks. And so this is my object. He doesn't even know that this is there. But there's rose quartz and malachite and amethyst. They're all set into the pavers there. And if you go over to the Austin Gem, that weird place on 35, just north by St. Edward Center, you go in there and they got a nice little card that tells you what each rock does and how it's doing and what it does. So, yeah, so those are all over there.
Did you install that? The
Yes,
stone patio?
yeah. And instead of that pipe, this is now sloped. So you saw in the water, in the picture where it's raining, most of the water is actually going that way. But if there is a problem and it backs up, this actually has a dip. It's really hard to see, but it has a dip in it. And then there's a dry creek on that side. Oops, just did it again.
That's nice. Wow.
All right, so this is this funky little stairway. And it was kind of sticking out from the side of the pool. But by putting the rock around it, suddenly it has this really beautiful enclosed feeling. Not so enclosed, it's kind of like Deep Eddy, you know, the stairway's not, it's kind of like that, but not that crazy. So there it is. This area has a dry creek that goes through it, all this planting in it. You can kind of see, you get a sense, like from this picture, how it's all kind of, the pool now has a place in the yard. Yeah, so before the fence, the skirt showing, and here, all this planting in the back. Yeah, so the problem with the pool was on the back side, it was the elevation. Now I've got the opposite problem I had in the front. I've got all this elevation in the back, so if I put any plants in here, all you're going to see is the top of them, so it really limits what I can put in there. So what I did is I put this nice little retaining wall in here, and then, again, a home for wayward dirt. So I would just bring it all and dump it in there, and it gave me a nice planting area. And then, yeah, some nice curves, some more planting area.
That plant that you put in there looks pretty big. In the previous slide, that one on the top right, and no,
This one?
the top right corner.
Oh, this one? Oh, that's not, that was there. That went away.
Oh, that was there?
That's the ligustrum that went away. That was a volunteer ligustrum that,
Oh, you removed it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As Barbara said, you know, I have a lot of training here at Wild Basin. That's what I learned how to do. Oh, that was easy. It's like, oh yeah. The customer didn't even know. I walked in and I said, you're right. Yeah, no. Yeah. It was gone. It's yeah. Oops. I'm going backwards again. All right. Yeah, so, did I skip one again?
This
All
was
right.
all handwork, or did you have a machine in?
Yeah, it's all hand. You can't, if you put a machine in here, the very first one where, you know, they're getting rid of all that pea gravel and the weed beer, on a residential lot, you start bringing machines in, they compact the soil, they just ruin it. Yeah, no, this is just a wheelbarrow.
How long did it take?
A few months. So, yeah, so this is this front, so these columns, luckily, this one was falling over, and then they didn't have any foundations on them once I dug up underneath them. So I was able to replace them, and here's one of my little rose quartz tucked into the wall. Yeah, so this is what it looked like. You can kind of just see this rock, and they just didn't even match the same pattern. It's like, who does that? So this is the water coming down, and it's all going into this corner, and this is a really fun opportunity for a rain garden. So while I was bringing all the dirt from the front yard to the backyard, I was also digging this out and bringing it further into the backyard. So when all this rainwater wants to come down here now, it can go in there and soak into the ground. And this is right here, this tree, you can't really see it, but that's a cedar elm, and they don't mind wet feet. You'd want to be a little careful with doing a rain garden. Certain trees don't like wet feet, but cedar elm do. And So, yeah, so when it rains, all the rain comes down, and go in there, and go and sit. All right, why did I do what I did? Dry stack walls, steel edging, weed barriers. We'll kind of take a look at these. This is like way too much words. We're not going to look at that. But I do want to point this out. This is I just drove around my neighborhood and was like, oh, taking pictures. Edging. Everybody uses edging, and a lot of times you don't need it. You put edging in basically to separate grass from gravel, or maybe grass from a planting bed. Or sometimes you can use it, when you're trying to separate the mulch from grass. But most of the time you don't need it. So why is this plastic edging in here? I mean, it's like this concrete is going to invade your bed. You got this steel edging. This is a exposed aggregate concrete sidewalk. And they get the flower, so they put the steel edging in here, and now all the weeds can go there, and you can't pull them out because of that little tiny spot. Here we got rock work. I don't know. Here's a wonderful example. I don't know what happened to the edging here, but it comes around the corner and stops there. And this is lovely. I mean, all right, so save yourself some money. Look, it's just money. And then mortar edging. I love dry stack, but people use mortar. And oops, it broke. Oops, it broke. Look at this, the beautiful, how much money they spend on that. It's broken. This is I don't know. My theory on flower beds is bigger is better. All right, you want it as big as you can. And if you can, like this, they created this, you've got a flower bed here, you've got this here. What's this little spot right here? I mean, it's like, I'm sorry?
Can't get them over through there.
Right, I mean, it's not like you're gonna, you need it to get, it's like, look, combine this bed with that bed. All right, so there we go. Did it again. So here's the steel edging that I use. I've got steel edging, which makes it easy for the grass, the guy that cuts the grass to go out there with his weed whacker and just zip along there. But you don't really see it. What you see is this rock that was salvaged from the yard. I used the limestone that was in the backyard and brought it up to the front yard and used that as an edging. In the backyard, that steel edging is in here. And then I used a bunch of the red rock that was, for whatever reason, put in the front yard, and I put that in the backyard.
If you're using rock, do you even need the edging?
Yes, because this grass growing through every one of those rocks will make your lawn guy unhappy.
Is that steel or is that plastic?
This is steel. Yeah, this is steel. And I like black plastic edging. I use it a lot. It's if you've got kids, you don't want this steel because they're going to, it's that little, land on it's going to really hurt. So black plastic edging is great if you install it properly, which is much deeper than everybody ever does it. All right, so there we've got some edging. All right, we talked about filter fabric. People call it weed barrier. It is not. All right, it does not stop weeds. It does not. And you never use it underneath anything organic. So I was even in a training put on by a large city around here with a Grow Green program, and I was being trained to, and the landscape architect said, under your trees you can put down black weed barrier and then mulch on top of it. I'm like, what is your hope that will happen to mulch over time? It decomposes and becomes part of the soil and enriches the soil. So you're gonna put a layer of plastic in between there. Okay. So you're gonna, now you don't have that beautiful mixing and enriching of the soil. You also have this black plastic, and above it you have this mulch. What happens to the mulch over time? It becomes soil, and then you've got weeds growing through the black plastic. All right. So I use this, but it's not a weed barrier. I use it underneath gravel to keep the gravel from getting mashed into the soil. Because over time, gravel will go into the soil, and then you end up with just dirty gravel. So we use that.
What is that called that you use?
Professional grade something, I don't know. It's woven. Yeah, I can get you a name for it. I don't want to do product flips.
You're right. It was used by a contractor who did some work at our house recently, and it is not a weed barrier, but he put it under a gravel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they'll call it weed barrier. That's what they'll call it. But I pulled this up. These are strawberries. I'm not growing strawberries, right? But this is what the folks say when they're selling it to farmers. It's going to work. So I use that under gravel. I also use it behind all my dry stack walls because it reinforces it. All right. So this is from a large soil yard that should not be named. Sour mulch. All right, so this is from University of Massachusetts Extension. They did some research and they found that when you have piles over 20 feet, actually over 10 feet, anaerobic decomposition happens. Anything over 10 feet, anaerobic decomposition happens, and it creates a super acidic mulch that will harm your plants. I bet that truck is 10 feet tall. How tall do you think those piles are? All right. There's theirs, and there's, I bought some of their stuff. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I would put stuff mulch down, and I would have plants dying. And I talked to some friends of mine, and they would say, oh, well, you're just putting too much mulch down, and, it's, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I put it down in one yard, and, like, everything died. I was like, okay, what's going on? A little research, sour mulch. So this is what it looks like. Everything basically is off-gassing nasty chemicals without getting into it. So that's turning the leaves brown, all these. This is, Salvia gregia, really tough one. This is right here. This one's out here, probably about the only thing blooming out here, that four-nerve daisy, all dead. But they did give me a discount on buying some gravel from them. All right, so this is this year.
What should we use instead?
They say that, so you can use it and it outgasses over a period relatively short. I don't know if I'd go back, but that research said that, pull it away from the plants, and after about a week, the larger plants will recover. So you can water it and let it outgas. It's the small plants because things are close to the ground. But all right, so this is I'm getting close to the end here. So this is this year. These are some orchids that came up around the corner here at Wild Basin. They're weird. I don't know why they did this, but they came up this year and it's like, oh my God, they're brand new ones. We haven't seen them here before. What are they doing? They're drying up. This is lantana. That's lantana right there.
Looks like mine.
This is frostweed. This is what's going to feed the monarchs in October. This is persimmon. That's what the persimmon in my yard without irrigation. That's what they look like. And if you walk around Wild Basin on the trails, persimmon seeds are in everything. Everybody eats persimmon. All right, the coyotes and the fox and.
Oh, right, because you see it in there.
Yeah, you see it in scat. And that's They're drying up. Now, the persimmon is actually a smart tree. I don't know if you ever noticed, but when it rains, when it's too wet in the summer, in Austin, they drop their leaves. They can't take it. But if you go out there now, they're drying up, but there's others that are still green. And so maybe if we get a little rain, I'll use a tropical storm or two. All right. Yeah, so my orchids. This is what they look like. These are from Wild Basin. These are native orchids. One of them. And they are dependent on relationship between trees and a fungus in the ground. All orchids require a fungus to do anything. They put out a little tiny root, and then they require a fungus to create their root system.
Are those commercially available?
No, you can't grow them because you don't have the relationship between the trees and
That's
the
why
fungus.
they're wild, okay.
But you can appreciate them. And they come up every once in a while, and who knows what, why, where. So there it is. So this is my summary. I don't know how we're going to get out of this. I can move rainwater, but then if it doesn't rain, we can put native plants in, but then what's native? It used to be when they were doing restoration, they would say within 50 miles of a site. So, and then if you're being more restrictive, you might say 25 miles, you collect plant material. So if you're going to do anything here, say for example, Wild Basin, you might do everything within 25 or 50 miles of Wild Basin. Well, they're saying that if you want to know what our weather is going to be like in 25 years, go 90 miles southwest. It's Del Rio, or, west of San Antonio. And it's very different there. I mean, it's not hill country. Who knows what's going to grow there? Who knows what's going to grow here? So that's it. It takes relationship. That's what it's going to take, is trying to figure it out together. And unfortunately, I don't know. I despair. I feel like the lantana. And I want to be more like the persimmon. But I don't want to leave you on a bummer. That's why I put a pretty picture up there.
That's when you go, how many here feel like Montana? How many here want to be person?
So, thank you all for coming out. And yep, sure. Entertain questions.
You were talking about people who put that black fabric down and then just the gravel on top of it. I have this like 20 by 30 foot space right by my house that I threw down a couple of shoots of vinca, invasive as heck, and it has taken over. And I don't want to spend the water on it because it's not a
It dies in the summer in the heat, right?
So I had thought of yanking it all out. It's a huge space. It really took over. And I had thought of throwing down gravel. But I got the impression from you that that's not a very wise thing to do.
Well, gravel's all right. I mean, in its place. So zero scaping does not work. So, another way of saying it is nature abhors a vacuum. All right.
Nature does what?
Abhors, hates a vacuum. So, another way of saying it is the hardest thing to grow in Austin is nothing. All right? It's really hard to grow nothing. So if you put down gravel, something is going to grow it. So you had better do some preparation to hold it in place, to keep things out, to get rid of anything that's there, and then plan on you're going to have problems over time. So I do it.
Plants there, but
Yeah, so a big circular area, I mean, I would get rid of the vinca and put other stuff in there. I don't know if I'd use, I don't know your sites, so I'm not going to speak to that. There's places for gravel, but a large swath of it just because you don't know what else to put in there is not a great solution. I would say dump a dump truck full of mulch and just pile it over it. It'll kill it. one thing I started here, it's just like you get so overwhelmed with how much I'm going to cover, but the project up in Georgetown where I was trying to kill that Bermuda grass was an interesting one because the health needs of one of the folks there is like, you know, Liz, you'll appreciate this, no Roundup, you know,
Right.
no weed killer. So how do you kill Bermuda? Well, I solarized it all summer long. That didn't kill it. So what I did was I put down, it's a development, so lots of people are always moving in. So they started collecting cardboard for me. And we put down about 3 or 4 or 5 layers of cardboard. So I'd solarized it, and I'd done everything else I could. And then we just put down layer after layer of cardboard. And then, because it was such bad soil, we put in some good soil on top of that. So I planted into the good soil. And then the assumption has proved to be, is working, is as the cardboard is slowly decomposing, the roots are going down through it.
What does that mean when you say you solarized it?
They put down plastic.
Oh, okay.
People put down glass plastic, white plastic, clear plastic. I mean, there's all kinds. It just doesn't work. It slows it down. It doesn't kill it.
I usually put salt.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, that salt doesn't bleed. That salt doesn't bleed. So, and it's also expensive. I mean, if you've got like a weed and you want to kill that, I guess you could do that. But, you know, like that salt is there in the soil now for forever. You know, they talk about, you know, you read about, you know, in history books about, you know, salting the fields of your enemy. Like, you think about that, it's like, salt was expensive. Nobody was ever going to go do that, but the theory of it is nice. But I put that in, if you've got a weed, I don't know what you're going to do with it, but, you know, you can't put that in the yard. I mean, you can buy a lot more than salt, and over 20 square foot. Yeah, get some cardboard, recycle it. It works. Questions, other questions?
what was the name of your company?
Native Cottage Gardens. And it's just me. It's just like, it's funny.
Have a big team of folks to
No,
move the trucks around.
no. I had people working for me and I'm just not a good boss. As I was telling Rosemary, I failed that kindergarten class and learning how to get along well with others. So my perfect fellow employee is a volunteer, another volunteer, because neither of us can get fired.
I want to bring your introverted self to my little passion land.
Okay.
So the black weed barrier of the various kinds, are they all permeable, though the water goes through? Or some of them less so?
Well, if the effective, as that thing said from the, you know, talking to farmers, because farmers put down, when you grow strawberries, I mean, it's a phenomenal way of growing strawberries. There's no weeds, you know, no dirt splash on strawberries, there's no place, nothing else can live there, so they grow strawberries that way. If you go to YouTube, you know, you can pull up all kinds of videos and putting that stuff down.
Because under your gravel, you were using that gravel side of the
Right.
driveway for drainage.
Right,
So
I
you
am
want
wanting that water to
barrier.
go away.
So it's
It's going there and it is going
it's not
away.
soaking through the gravel and the
Some of the
barrier.
thing.
A little bit, but
Some of the
they're
thing.
not real permeable.
My first priority is, in terms of sustainability, if somebody's house floods, that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to me as a business. And plus all the expense of the house and all the rest of that. So yeah. So that it allows some water to go through, the last water can go down, but yeah. Gary, you had a...
Yeah, I want to know what John's go-to list is for plants. If you're going to do, you have it in your mind, when you go to each one of your jobs, you sort of have in your mind a set of, this will probably work here, and of all the jobs I've done, these are the most common native plants that I put in.
Yeah, so I started, you know, I was like, when I was asked to do this talk, I was like, what am I going to say? And there's 1,000 people, and 1,000, you know, have their thoughts, and You know, so much depends on just what you can buy. I mean, it's availability. It's so you know, I can come up with this wonderful plant list. If anybody, I got started in this. There's this Andy and Sally Wasowski. It's a Native Plants for Texas. It's a phenomenal book. It's got all these wonderful plants, all these great ideas about how to use them, and you can't buy any of the plants in them.
No.
All right? So that's the limiting factor, you know, and you know, very few of my customers pay me to go to 5 nurseries. All right, so you do what yeah. So, but to answer your question, I mean, it depends, you know, soil, light, and water conditions. But Salvia gregii, it's great. Flamicanthus, you know, you're talking about a little shot.
That's the one thing in my garden that still looks fantastic right now is Flamicanthus.
Yeah, and it's weird. My wife said, you know, you said that before. It's the only, of the native plants, it's one of the few that actually reseeds in your yard. I mean, this is one of the weird things that all these native plants and everything, you put them in, like, I've never seen Salvia gregii seed in my yard. They produce seeds, the birds eat them, but I've never seen them reseed in the yard. And Flamicanthus is one of the few. Even Turk's cat.
What is that that you're saying, flaming?
Flamicanthus.
And the hummingbirds in my garden.
Yeah, oh, they love it.
Right now,
Oh, they love it. Yeah, and a little water on it, I mean, they just, yeah. We can talk later. So there's a great resource. The City of Austin has a book, Native and Adapted Plants for, you know, Austin, whatever. It's a PDF. You buy it or free at any nursery. It's a PDF on the website, and that works great.
It is, but you know, I'm still coming back to John. You know, anybody can read a book. You're out there creating things, and
I mean, it is just so hard. I mean, like that one up there on Mesa, the front yard, it was like very few natives out there. If you drive by now, the thing you're going to see is in the spring, there's bluebonnets. That's a little memorial garden for his family member there. So it's just gorgeous. I needed something that would come up, and then Barbara's looking at her watch. I needed something that would come up in the spring and not compete, and then in the summer, the bluebonnets go away, and I need to have something else there. And you drive by there, it's bird paradise that is like this high, pride of our making seconds. And it's just gorgeous. And then in the winter, it dies, and the bluebonnets all come up, and that's a very late bloomer. It's just soil, light, water conditions, whatever your needs are. And that's most of the plants that are not native in the yard, in the front yard, because the deer just eat everything.
Again, guys, you need to, first thing we're always taught is to test your soil and see what your soil is lacking and what to put in your soil. We just put a pollinator garden in at the refuge in Buckhannon. And I'd like to see what we do. We covered the front part of it with black plastic and let that run 3 months. And we took it up and we put that cardboard. And I'm surprised the garden's done as well as it has. I was out there today collecting seeds, and it's great place to go. There's also a nice pollinator garden out at Inks Lake, and they have a big club that does their garden. But it's beautiful. So it's hard for him to say what plant because it depends on soil, it depends on shade, how much shade does it get, because you know it's hard to pinpoint a particular plant. But hopefully they'll be helpful.
And then one last little thing is, this is a weird thing about deer. You know, they learn. Go figure. So, you know, so you can have a plant that they don't eat and it's just perfect plant, and then mama teaches baby. And then the whole neighborhood is gone.
They're hungry, they'll eat anything.
All right. Barbara? Oh, I'm sorry. Last question.
What kind of grass do you usually plant, and do you ever try to talk people out of planting grass?
Yeah, so zoysia. Palisade zoysia is my go-to. It's kind of in the middle. So St. Augustine, you know, everybody hates it, but in the shade, it's the only grass that works. So St. Augustine for shade, and then whatever. Zoysia for sunny areas. Habiturf, all those things. It was just a little, if you're on the Native Plant Society Facebook page, I just went like a couple paragraphs a week ago. If you've got full sun, you can do buffalo grass, sod, and then you can overseed it with curly mesquite, blue grama, and you can recreate the habiturf and the thunder turf that are sold by seed.
I'm gonna try that.
But if you do the sod first, if you just do by seed, then weeds come up. So if you do your preparation, then you can put the sod down, and then the other overseed with the other ones, and that you actually get established. And I know it's a whole nother conversation, but if the problem with all those kind of buffalo grass and all that is they're native west of here. And maybe in 25 years they'll be native here, but we don't have native turf grasses. That's it. Thank you all for coming out.